Good evening. Is that Sudeep Baba on the call?
Yes, Amit Baba, this is Sudeep.
Welcome. Hello, Ting. Welcome to the call. I hope you can hear me. You're on mute though.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Welcome. You're going to be on video or just in the call?
I'm just in the call.
Okay, all right, no worries. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Seattle.
Oh, wonderful. We'll just wait for a little more time, see if anyone else joins.
Are you located in Monroe?
Well, the ashram or temple on behalf of whom I'm doing the program, that is in Monroe. I am right now in Bellevue.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Kriya Yoga, Ting, or just curious? Or
Yeah, I have very limited
okay,
knowledge, so I'm curious.
okay, sounds good. It's 7 p.m. right now, so wait a few more minutes. A few others had registered, so I'm hoping some other people will join. Probably wait till 5 minutes past 7, and then we will get started with whoever's on the call. Maybe I should also post that we are starting. Hello, Parash. Good evening. Not sure you can hear me. I do not see your microphone icon or speaker icon.
He is still connecting.
Okay.
He is connected now.
He is connected. Parash, can you hear me? Still cannot see his microphone icon. Thank you. Parash is still connecting to audio.
I think he's reconnecting.
Yes, looks like he disconnected. Gayatri Ma, pranam.
Pranam Amit Baba. Pranam everyone.
Let's see if Parash is able to join. Wait for 1 more minute and then we will get started. Okay, maybe we will get started. Ting, you can still hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, okay, we'll get started. So we have 4 people on the call, including myself. The 2 other people, Sudhi Bharati Baba, he's actually a Yogacharya, a teacher with our organization. And Gayatri, she is also part of our group. So Ting, you are the one who is perhaps new to this call and new to this concept. So, but we will get going, and it's just you. It just reminds me that I had heard an incident from the life of my own master, where when he was still a college student, in his school or in his town, an eminent speaker, a monk, had come, and he had gone to attend his event. And at the end of the event, he got introduced to the monk, and the monk asked him what he was doing, and he was a student. And then the monk said that, I have an hour free tomorrow. And so if you want to organize something in your event, if in your school, and if people are interested in listening, then I'd be happy to talk to them. And next morning, my master met him again, and the monk asked, so how many people are you expecting in the meeting? And my master said, I have no idea. This was a late arrangement. I really do not know how many will come. So the monk looked at him and said, no worries. If you are just there, that will be good enough. One sincere seeker, and we can have a good conversation. So that was the thought which came to mind, that Ting is there. She is curious about Kriya Yoga. The others are familiar with Kriya Yoga, but we will get started. Hopefully somebody else will join along the way. So at this start, we will close our eyes for a prayer. I'll chant a Sanskrit verse, which is a beautiful prayer, and I'll explain the meaning of that as we get going. Praying to the divinity which is all around us, and the divinity which is within us, and also praying to saints and sages of all time, that they be with us, they guide us in this evening's discussion. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvi Nabadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the divinity allow us to enjoy together, to exert together. May our discussions be sincere and faithful. May there not be any misunderstanding or discord amongst us. May there be peace. Om. Amen. Good evening again. So I have a short slide presentation, which I will now share with you, and we will get going. Okay, I hope you can see the presentation. So the plan today is to talk about Kriya Yoga and the practice of 8 limbs of yoga meditation. And at part of the agenda, and here's a quick summary of what I intend to cover, the focus for this session will be on a general guided meditation. For people who are new to Kriya Yoga, new to meditation, I thought today we will start with a meditation towards the beginning. But before we do that, I'll briefly talk about yoga, or this concept or method known as the 8 limbs of yoga, or Ashtanga yoga. Ashtanga means 8 limbs. We'll do the meditation then. And after that, I will talk a little bit more about Kriya Yoga and what it is. Also share some information with you about how one can learn Kriya Yoga formally. We'll take questions throughout. So we'll actually try to keep this interactive. Any questions or comments that you have, please chime in. Otherwise, it might be a very boring talk. So, so before I get going, Sudeep Pava, Gayatri Ma, maybe just a little bit about yourself so that Ting is familiar, and then Ting, you can add a little bit more about yourself as well.
Sure, Amit Baba. Pranam, everyone. My name is Sudeep Bharati. As Amit Baba said, I am also part of Kriya Yoga organization. I have been initiated for last 15 years, and I have been practicing. And this is a beautiful art of meditation, art of living. I can personally tell everyone that this is something that has changed my life, and in all aspects, physical, being disciplined, and also in knowing so many good souls that have benefited me tremendously over the years. So I can only I can only hope that a lot more people will learn about it and try this and benefit from it just like I have. Thank you, Amit Baba.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Gayatri Ma?
Pranam everyone. My name is Gayatri, and we as a family have two kids, and my husband. We're all initiated into Kriya Yoga around 4 or 5 years back, and we've been practicing as well. From the time I joined Kriya Yoga, um, to say the least, a lot of miracles have happened in our lives. It's been life changing. It's been a life changing experience. Um, um, and we really love to meditate because it helps you connect with your inner core self, and helps answer a lot of unanswered questions that one may have about God and spirituality. And um, so I don't have anything more to say than this. I also try and actively volunteer at the ashram here in Seattle.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gayatri Ma. So Ting, you mentioned you are from Seattle. Do you want to add anything more about what you do and your interest in this meetup?
Sure. A little about me, and what got me interested in this was something else. I'm not sure whether you have heard of Wim Hof.
Mm-hmm. I have
Wim
not.
Hof. Okay. So Wim Hof is a Dutchman who has broken like 20 some Guinness record for his superhuman ability.
Mm-hmm.
So when he teach others to be able to do what he's capable of, he has introduced us some part which I believe originated from yoga, breathing, and meditation.
I see. Okay.
So I'm curious what, because I learned the concept of yoga all from Westerner, not
I see.
not really the people from where it's originated.
Right. Makes sense. Wonderful. And what do you do? Do you work, study?
I work.
Got it. Very good. Well, thank you for joining, Ting. For us, can you hear now? I see you're on the call.
Yes, I can. Are you able to get my voice?
I am, yes.
Okay. I will quickly briefly introduce myself. I originally belong to Calgary. I work there. Recently, I have been moved by the company that I work for, ExxonMobil, for their project and on an assignment in Doha, Qatar. So where I'm currently almost about to finish my assignment, I'll be back in Calgary next month, and I'm an engineer by profession.
Got it. And you are interested in learning Kriya Yoga. I've seen some communication from you.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And looks like Mukta is on the call. Welcome, Mukta. Can you hear?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much.
Mukta, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Alamo in California.
Okay.
And I'm a Kriyavan, and Sometime back, when we used to have gatherings here too, but right now there are no, nothing in person, and I was wanting to kind of rejuvenate my yoga kriya practice.
Wonderful.
So I'm trying to get some inspirations.
All
Thank you.
right. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for joining. So I think that's who we are on the call. So we will get going. A little bit about myself. I was initiated into Kriya Yoga in 2002. So this year will be my 20th year. And since 2019, I have been teaching Kriya Yoga and always reminding me, right, that teaching is really to learn more about Kriya Yoga. So I think of myself as a student of Kriya Yoga and help others by learning if they are interested. I have now retired from corporate life. My career was primarily spent in Microsoft Corporation. I was a developer and worked on a variety of products from Windows 2.1 to Visual Studio to Azure. And towards the end of my career, I was a partner development manager. In the middle, I was also the managing director for the India Development Center. And really, if I think of Kriya Yoga, it has been a gift in the sense that throughout my career, balancing corporate life and family life, I feel Kriya Yoga has kept me centered and anchored and sane through all of these years. So I too am a big fan of Kriya Yoga and always feel inspired to talk to other seekers who are looking for the path of meditation to talk about Kriya Yoga. So this in our group here, we have been trying to do this meetup once a month. So we started this about 3 or 4 months back, and we have had a few previous sessions. And Kriya Yoga is a vast topic. I don't intend to cover the same aspect of Kriya in each of these meetups. So just to share with you some of the conversations that we have had in previous meetups were about mind control and why we need it. We talked a little bit about the science behind mind control and how controlling the breath really leads to mind control. So these are topics which may come up in our discussion through your questions, but I may not explicitly cover them in this session. What I intend to do, though, is to share with you another neat concept about yoga. And when I think of what Ting said, that she has heard about yoga from a Western perspective, and she's curious to know what is it really from an authentic perspective, from its source of origin. That kind of ties in nicely into the talk today. Most of you will know, for others, this is just informative that yoga is a school of philosophy. It did originate in India thousands of years ago. And even today, the authoritative book on yoga philosophy is this book called the Yoga Sutra of Sage Patanjali. Patanjali is this mystical saint who lived maybe 2,500 years ago. And he sort of compiled this book on yoga. So really, yoga itself is that old, thousands of years old. And this book is just a book of aphorisms, short sort of principles, and there are 195 of them, which covers all aspects of the yoga philosophy. And this is also interesting that today yoga is popular world over through a variety of means. There are different kinds of yoga. Yoga as an exercise, even more modern concepts like hot yoga, or so many other terms. But in this book, Sage Patanjali actually mentions Kriya Yoga by name and defines it, giving us a sense that really Kriya Yoga is perhaps the earliest and the core of the yoga philosophy. And then Sage Patanjali also talks about this concept or this methodology known as 8 limbs of yoga. This is actually quite popular in the West even today, although perhaps it's not taught in a way that a classical yoga philosophy or a school would teach it. But nonetheless, this Ashtanga yoga, or the 8 limbs of yoga, is actually a good way to think of what yoga as a philosophy is. So today we will actually talk about Ashtanga yoga, and I'll share with you how, even without realizing it, we actually practice it in our daily life, just not realizing that that's what we are doing. So that's a beautiful concept of yoga that I'll share with you in this topic. And once again, if you have any questions, please chime in, raise your hand. And if others notice somebody is waiting to ask a question, please alert me as well. So what is 8 limbs of yoga? So this slide actually just defines what the 8 limbs of yoga are. It essentially talks about 8 limbs. Now, a quick distinction here is the sage Patanjali did not talk about this as 8 steps of yoga, nor did he say this was 8 levels of yoga. He very explicitly and with intent called this the 8 limbs of yoga. And what that means is, just as we have 2 hands and 2 feet, and they are our limbs, and we use them as they are needed. It's not that we have to use our hand and legs in any particular sequence. As the life situations presents themselves, we have all these limbs, and we use whichever one is the most appropriate for the situation that we are trying to deal with. So also with these limbs of yoga. So the first important thing to remember is these are not steps or a sequence. They are 8 different ways of taking a look at yoga, and you practice them or you utilize them as the situation develops in life. So I will quickly define what the actual definition of this is, but instead of going with the exact definition that Sage Patanjali does, I will adapt this more to what we do in our real life. So the first limb, and so the limbs, if I just, and these are Sanskrit terms, if I just call them out, they are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Those are the Sanskrit names. If I just use the English translation, then the first one is a set of moral disciplines. The second one is another set of disciplines or observances. And I'll talk a little bit about what is the difference between these 2 categories of disciplines. But first 2 are more with discipline, as Sudeep Baba mentioned in the introduction, that Kriya Yoga has helped him bring so much of discipline in his life. That is a foundation of Kriya. The very first sutra in the 195 that Sage Patanjali talks about is Atha Yoga Anushasanam, or now we start the discipline of yoga. So the fundamental thing of yoga is about discipline. So these 2 limbs of yoga talks about discipline. Then the third one, asana, is posture. Most people in the West know yoga through this perspective. They think of yoga as a set of postures that bring flexibility to the body, that bring dynamism and good health. So that's a very popular limb of yoga, but it is just a limb, asana or posture. The next one, which is also getting a lot of popularity these days, is pranayama, or breathing techniques. Once again, Ting mentioned that this wonderful teacher from the Dutch teacher who can do miraculous feats and seems to allude that to his practice with breathing and breath mastery. So that is this limb of yoga called pranayama or breathing techniques. Pratyahara is withdrawal, withdrawing the senses from the world. Dharana is concentration. Dhyana is meditation. And samadhi in the path of yoga is the ultimate goal, which essentially means to enjoy this transcendental bliss, or you can say that also is enlightenment. So these are the 8 limbs of yoga. Now, yama and niyama, one way to think of these 2 categories of discipline is that yama is a set of disciplines that you practice when you're interacting with others. Okay, so any endeavor, whether it be sports or any other endeavor, where you are at it with a set of other people, you might have to observe such so that the group as a whole functions. So yama discipline is others, whereas niyama is a set of observances or disciplines that. Now, in the actual definition of Ashtanga Yoga in Yoga Sutra, Sage Patanjali talks of 5 yamas and niyamas. I don't intend to cover them here in detail, but just for your information, the 5 yamas are non-violence or ahimsa, truthfulness or satya, chastity or brahmacharya or moderation, non-stealing, asteya, and non-possessiveness, aparigraha. So this, the sage talks about, are some moral disciplines that a student on the path of yoga should abide by. And then for niyama or personal observances, he talks about 5 again, which is cleanliness or saucha, contentment or santosha, austerities or tapaha, study of the self or swadhyaya, and surrender to the divine, which is Ishwar Pranidhan. So he talks about these disciplines. But today, for the purpose of getting a sense of how 8 limbs of yoga plays out in our practical life, we will just understand that yama means a set of rules or etiquette that I need to observe when I interact with others. And niyama is a set of observances, a set of practices that I practice myself. So that's what 8 limbs of yoga is. Now, the beauty of this is, and this is why yoga philosophy is so interesting, that this is actually intertwined with every activity that we do in the world, in our normal lives. It is just that we are not even aware that that's what we are doing. So the thing that I want to impress upon you is, as you get into the path of yoga, if you realize that in multiple activities in daily life, you are actually practicing the 8 limbs of yoga, you're actually practicing yoga, then just being intentional about it, you will get a lot of discipline. So I'll give you a very simple example that my teacher talks about, which is the simple act of cooking. I know many people on this call love cooking, and I'm sure you're familiar with this act of cooking, even if perhaps you're not a cook as a hobby yourself. But I'll show you how, when you're thinking of cooking, you're actually practicing 8 limbs of yoga. So imagine that you want to call some friends over for dinner at your home, and you're looking forward to meeting with them, and you're going to cook a delicious meal for them. So as you prepare for the evening, that's your big project during the day. So now if you think of the steps of cooking, we will see how the 8 limbs of yoga play out. So first of all, yama. When you're in the kitchen, you're actually spending time with a variety of different things. There are the appliances in the kitchen, the stove, or, and then the instruments like knives and a bunch of things like this. There might be others who are sharing the kitchen with you. So you can understand that for a safe and efficient time in the kitchen, you have to be a little disciplined, because otherwise you may hurt yourself with the knives, because these instruments, they both help, but they're dangerous as well. Or you might burn yourself dealing with the heat. So you all the time have to be observant. You have to be careful with how you approach these things. So once again, we just do it intuitively. We just do it naturally. We don't quite think these as a set of discipline. But if you now think, as I lay out this concept, that these in effect are a set of discipline that you are observing when dealing with others. So here the others are maybe other people who are sharing the kitchen with you, or just even the equipment, that you have to be disciplined about that. So that, in a simple way, is observance of yama, or one of the limbs of yoga when cooking. Then the next one is niyama. It is also easy to observe that as an individual who's doing this project of cooking this meal, you're probably going to observe a set of discipline or practices yourself. For example, we would seldom go into the kitchen to cook a good meal when we are not clean. Maybe our clothes are not clean and dirty. We have just finished a gardening chore. You're probably not going into the kitchen straight away. You might change your clothes, you might sort of mentally feel or physically feel clean about it. And then even during the process of cooking, you're of course going to follow a set of steps. Think of it as the recipe. You're going to cook this delicious meal. Multiple things have to be done. The vegetables have to be cut. The spices have to be mixed in. A proper proportion of things have to be done. So you have to be careful about observing those. See, again, something that we do intuitively, but you see how discipline plays into this project of cooking. Then the next one is asana. Asana simply means a posture. Once again, you're just going to have a comfortable posture for cooking. That might just be, standing in front of the stove, or in India, sometimes women, when they're cooking, they actually sit on the ground on a stool with the stove in front of them. Whatever be the posture, you're probably going to adopt something which is appropriate for cooking. You would never try to cook a meal lounging on a sofa or with your feet up on a table. That's just not how things work. So here also, you're adopting a posture for this project, which is nothing but the asana or posture limb of yoga. Next comes pranayama, breath. One thing that you will notice in life is that every mood that we have, every frame of mind that we have, actually has a different style of breathing. When you're in the gym working out, your breathing is rapid because you're burning the energy and you're breathing fast. When you're sad, your breathing is very shallow. When you're angry, your breath is long and you're breathing heavily again. So likewise, for cooking also, we perhaps need just a normal, even breath. Again, if you're getting into the act of cooking straight after a gym session, you're probably waiting a little bit till your breath normalizes. And once your breathing is normal and comfortable, then you start cooking. Once again, you're not actively thinking of your breathing, but implicitly, that is what we are doing. We are regulating our breath, trying to get to a breath which is comfortable for cooking. Then pratyahara, withdrawal of sense from distraction. This too is common sense. If you're going to focus on your cooking, the recipe that you need to follow, you're probably withdrawing yourself from the external attractions. Probably you're no more mindful of the TV, which might be going on. You're certainly not looking at your Facebook or WhatsApp feed. You're withdrawing from these sense of external engagement. because you're drawing yourself within, so that with your heart and with your soul, you're going to focus on the act of cooking. Now the cooking starts. And this needs a lot of concentration or dharana, because here, step by step, you're following your recipe. You're cutting the vegetables, you're mixing them up with the spices, you're adding other spices in the proper proportion, in the proper sequence, you're stirring things up. So this entire process you can think of is of deep concentration, where you're following the recipe that you have in mind. Then a beautiful time comes in cooking. After you have mixed in all the stuff, you have added the ingredients, you've added the spices, maybe you've added water for the vegetables to boil. There comes a moment in cooking when you just perhaps cover up the vessel or let it be on slow heat and let it cook by itself. If you think of this step in the process where your activities have now stopped, there is no more stirring, checking, no more adding ingredients. You've done all of that. But then a part comes where you just wait. You let the meal, you let the dish cook itself. There's calmness. There's no more activities. This is akin to meditation. Meditation, in a way, is just calmness, no more activities. And this step, and this resembles the dhyana or meditation step of 8 limbs of yoga. And the last one, samadhi. What does this mean? When you're cooking, think of what you look forward to. What you're looking forward to is eventually, when it's time for the meal, to serve what you have cooked to your guests, to your friends. And what you're looking for is the joy on their face when they relish the meal that you have cooked. And that in turn fills your heart with joy. That's when you feel that the entire endeavor was worth it. All these steps, all these preparation, all the concentration, finally you have cooked a delicious meal and your guests, your family love that meal. And you feel this joy in your heart. So in a simple term, in day-to-day life, that is the joy, which is the samadhi step of 8 limbs of yoga. I'll stop for a bit here to see if you have any questions or at least some feedback from you about whether this made sense to you or not. Anyone want to chime in?
Yeah, I just want to share that, yeah, I've known about it all along, but to think of it that in every activity we can relate to these 8 limbs is so unique, so beautiful. I had never thought of it like that, so thank you.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad you appreciate that. Parash, Ting, you are new to this path. Did this make sense to you?
Yes, it does. I thought of the last few limbs like dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. They are mostly of saintly qualities. Once the foundation, once the earlier limbs are built on, samadhi is like very rare quality, but you nicely try to resemble with the daily activity. That's all I see it.
Yes, indeed. So when you are actually practicing yoga, you're right. You're trying, and the meditation that we will do, that is an active step of meditation. But I wanted to demonstrate here that yoga is an integral part of our life. And we are actually following all these steps without being mindful about them. And it makes a big difference, this intentionality. If you realize these steps, then you can focus on any and each one of them to really live them in the full. And then you will see the joy becoming that much more in every activity. Ting, did this make sense to you?
Yes.
Yes, it's a good analogy to correlate this cooking to the 8 limbs of yoga. I wonder if this samadhi equals to Kundalini awakening.
Right. So samadhi, it's more than Kundalini awakening. I would say what yoga and Vedanta and the spiritual path essentially says is that we are at our core unlimited joy. That is our self, which is, as they define the Brahman as Sat Chit Ananda, which is existence, consciousness, and bliss. That is who we are. But at a simple level, that joy which is inherent in us gets covered up with this mind which is constantly worrying and expecting and desiring and wanting to get something. So yoga, the philosophy essentially says that if you ever are able to calm your mind completely so that there are no desires, no thoughts, then you will automatically reveal that bliss, which is part of who you really are, and that is samadhi. But that, as Paras was referring to, from a path of practice, that's our eventual goal. But certainly, we are probably not going to experience this in every activity during the day. But nonetheless, any joy in any activity that we get is actually nothing but a part of that core of bliss that we are. So any joy that we experience in our daily life is still within from our core. It just happens to be a fraction, a fragment of that eternal bliss that is hidden, that is covered by a restless mind. So the Kundalini awakening, if you equate that with enlightenment, where you truly are merged with who you really are, that is samadhi. But the daily joy that we get is just a fragment. It's like a speck of that happiness, but the source of the happiness is still the same. That makes sense?
Sort of, but that brings up another question.
Mm-hmm.
So you said if we do not have so much desire, especially as a modern human,
Yes,
having a lot of desires, especially on materials, does it mean without abandoning all our materialist desire, we will never attain the enlightenment?
very beautiful question, Ting. If it's okay with you, let's hold on to this a little bit till I actually come to Kriya Yoga, and then I will try to give an explanation for this. Okay?
Sure.
I'll remember this question. It's a beautiful question. You're essentially saying that, look, in a way, you're saying in our daily life, a lot of our activities are driven by desire, right? I mean,
yes,
we're trying to accomplish something, and hence we are doing something. So if you have to give up desire, does that mean that we have to give up all these ambitions? We cannot function as we are in this life? Beautiful question. We will come to this. I'll remember to bring this up. Okay.
Okay.
So just to continue with this example, the point to note is that really everything, any project you can think, whether it's at home, at work, in the garden, is really 8 limbs of yoga in action. So I'll just quickly say that even at work, you have a team that you're working with, presumably. And there is a team culture. You have to interact with your team or your team members with some discipline. That is nothing but yama. You need to bring some self-discipline, some ability. You have to pick up some skills at work, which is for your own self. So you see how discipline is there in anything that you do, one for others and one for yourself. Asana very simply can be thought about ergonomics at work. These days, when you're doing a lot of computer work, if you're not careful about how your shoulder, your head position is, or your back, you will actually injure yourself. That is nothing but finding the right asana, posture, or ergonomics at work. Pranayama. Again, breath, you will notice, is that when you're restless, when breath is, you cannot just do your best work then, because your mind's not calm. And without a calm mind, you're probably not going to be able to do anything which is of significant level of difficulty. Pranayama. Withdrawal of senses from distraction. This is common sense. If you're going to do something important, imagine a doctor doing a surgery, cannot do it without withdrawing from everything else, focusing on the act that he or she is doing. And then, of course, focus on creating the best product or the best set of steps that you're doing. If you're an engineer, for example, if you're building a product, then at the point comes when you have done your best job, and now you have held your work in front of your customers, waiting for them to use or review your product. That is actually a moment of calmness for us. But normally we get most stressed here when we feel that, oh my God, I'm not sure what I have built is going to be liked by customer. Oh, I'm feeling so tensed. That is just the contrary of it, right? The wrong way to take a look at it. The right approach ought to be that I have done my best up to them. Now, when I've handed this product over to my customers, let me be the most relaxed. I have done my best. Customers are using it. There's nothing for me to do right now. Why get bothered and caught up and wound up? Then when customer feedback comes in, if they appreciate your product, that's joy for you. Even if they don't appreciate your product, they give you some feedback of what is not working, that also ought to be joy for you. That aren't you glad that your customers found what was wrong that you can now work on fixing? So this is where I was saying that if you're intentional about this, then especially those last two steps, which cause the most stress in our practical life, where we get caught up at a time where there's really nothing for us to do, but we feel stressed. We cannot disengage from work at the right time. Or we are always just expecting maybe good things, and we become sad when things don't go in the way we wanted. We don't see it that, oh my God, this is a blessing. They have found what is wrong with my product. I can certainly fix it. That brings joy. So I'll stop here with just the definition of 8 limbs of yoga. And we will actually do a little bit of a practice of meditation. This is not Kriya Yoga meditation. This is, I would say, just a general meditation, but to give you a sense of how these things play into it, and just for you to have a feel of what meditation is. Ting, do you practice any meditation yourself?
I don't know the type of meditation it's called, but I believe it's kind of meditation.
Wonderful, wonderful. Happy to know. And how about you, Parash?
No, I do not. So I would like to learn. Please
Wonderful.
go ahead.
Wonderful. So for this and the others, I didn't ask the others because they're all very familiar. They're practitioners of Kriya Yoga, which is a much more deeper level of meditation. So for this meditation, ignore the picture for a moment. We'll just use a few simple postures, which will involve, keeping the spine straight, or at some point just bending forward wherever you are. You just can be on a chair, don't need to be on the floor, nothing. Watching the breath, taking some deep inhalations and exhalations, and that's all it will be. So I'll stop sharing. Let's do this practice. So first of all, just be comfortable where you are. As I said, this does not mean that you need to sit on the ground or in a complicated posture. If you're probably sitting on a chair right now, and that's just fine. And just relax the body, let go of any rigidness there, and then follow the instructions. And then we will see how this feels. And I might throw in some of these terms from the 8 limbs of yoga, just to draw your attention, that intentionality about what you're practicing. So we'll also close our eyes. So just sit comfortably. Keep the spine straight. But the body is not rigid. It is comfortable. Maybe the hands are on the lap in a comfortable posture so that you don't need to think about them, but you can be still for some time. We closed our eyes. That's a natural part of pratyahara, or withdrawing from the world. Easier to be less distracted when we close the eyes. Bring the concentration to the middle of the 2 eyebrows. In yogic term, this place in the body is known as the soul center, the door to divinity within. So just calmly concentrating between the eyebrows. We started this session with a prayer, praying to divinity, to the masters, that let our time together be sincere and faithful, without any conflict. You can simply think of that as yama, or a set of observances we are practicing as a group. That discipline to be an effective group. You are going to follow a set of instructions in this meditation. That is your niyama. That is your observance for yourself. Just 2 things for you to do. Follow the instructions and be aware of the feeling within. While you concentrate at the soul center, start observing your own breathing. How the breath goes into the nostril. How the air breath comes out of the nostril. Breathing in, aware of it. Breathing out. Normal breathing. Effortless breathing. You're not doing anything to alter the breath. Just aware of every inhalation, every exhalation. Your mind may get distracted. When you notice your attention has drifted away, gently bring it back to the mind, breath. Watching every inhalation, Watching every exhalation, telling the mind that for the next 10-15 minutes, not to worry about anything. All will be all right. To just shut off thoughts, anxieties from the mind. Focus on the breath. Contemplate on the breath a little bit. Breath is alive. We are alive because we are drawing in the breath. Breath is our strength. We are able to do any work at all because of the breath. Breath is nourishing us day and night. Who is it who is pulling the breath 24 hours a day, even when we are asleep? Could that be the divinity within us? Watch every breath, every inhalation, every exhalation. Perhaps you will notice a bit more calmness in the mind. This is pratyahara. This is also dharana, concentrating on just watching the breath. Now take a slow, long, and deep breath. Hold the breath for a moment and gently bend forward where you're sitting with the head towards the knees. And exhale. Hold that posture with the head little down while you watch normal breathing again. This is another simple asana posture with the head down a little bit. As you watch the breath, you might feel some heaviness in the head. Oxygenated blood nourishing the brain. Calmly watch the breath. The act of bowing also brings humility within us. We are bowing to the divinity which is within us, the divinity which is around us. Simple prayer in every breath. Grateful that we are alive. Grateful to the breath. Grateful to all the good things in life which are secure for us. And grateful that we are able to pursue all that we are lacking or all that we need. Humble prayer in every breath. Still watching every breath. More calmness within. Now take another deep, long inhalation. Hold the breath. Gently sit back up again, making the spine straight. And exhale. Normally breathing again. Back to the task of watching the breath. Now we will practice a little bit of pranayama or specific pattern of breathing. Pranayama means expanding the life force. Take a slow, long, deep inhalation, completely filling your lungs. Exhale, slow, long, and deep. Take another slow, long, deep inhalation as per your capacity. And exhale, slow, long, and deep. Inhale, slow, long, and deep again. Exhale, slow, long, deep. Inhale, deep. Feel all the tension melting away. Exhale, slow, long, and deep. Feel the joy within. Inhale, peace. Exhale, love. Inhale, peace. All the stress melting away. Exhale, love. Continue to breathe deeply. Inhale, peace. Exhale, love. Inhale, love. Exhale, peace. Inhale, love. Exhale, peace. Deep inhalation, deep exhalation. With each deep inhalation, rejuvenating the body and mind. With every deep exhalation, spreading joy and love around. Inhale slow, long, and deep. Exhale love. This is pranayama. Inhale deep. Exhale love. Now back to normal breathing again. Bring your attention back to the middle of the eyebrows. No more changing the breath. Focus deep inside the head. Empty space. Notice how feeble the breath is now. Less thought or no thought. The sound of silence within. No more thought of the body. Nothing more to do. Just an awareness within. I am. To merge into that awareness. No more technique to follow. No more instructions. Spend a few minutes in meditation. Try. Bring the attention back to the breath again. Back to body consciousness, breath consciousness. Notice the calmness in the mind. Any calmness that you might have felt. Is a speck of that infinite bliss which is within us. That calmness is the result of your meditation and the blessing of the divine power within. Enjoy that calmness. Be grateful for it. When you are ready, you can gently open your eyes again. Welcome back. So that was about 15 minutes of a general meditation. I hope you had a bit of calmness. You felt a little bit of silence, calmness within. I'll just ask our two new participants, Ting and Paras, if they want to share anything about their experience. I know the others practice meditation, so this is normal experience for them.
I would go first, maybe. Yeah, I felt a little bit calm. Sometimes got a little distracted. I was trying to follow you, and your way of delivery was great. Very, very nice. I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky. I think I would like to get this for, if you are recording it, if I can get this later on to follow whenever I get time to repeat this.
Certainly.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Ting, did you feel some calmness within?
Yeah, I concur to what he just said. I had felt same, and maybe I'm not used to group meditation, so a little distracted.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I'm more focused when I meditate alone.
Mm-hmm. Right. I can understand. Absolutely. And the distraction that we feel, that's also very common. The mind does not want to meditate, actually. It is true for all of us. It wants to do things that we are normally used to. It keeps drawing us back there. That's why two things we try to do. One is to keep the mind busy. We were trying to give it a task to just watch the breath. Sometimes mind is like a servant. You give it a task, it stays busy there. It gets distracted, you try to bring it back. And through that concentration, we were trying to also get to a point where the mind slows down. That's when you have the deep meditation, deeper meditation. Of course, this was just a practice setting in this group, but just wanted to give you a taste of what meditation is. And you'd notice how the yama, niyama, the group observances, the rules that you're following yourself, pratyahara, withdrawing from outside, asana, we had a couple of simple postures, pranayama, breathing, dharana, concentration on the breath, dhyana, there was that part in the middle where there was no, towards the end, where there were no more instructions. And samadhi in daily time, just a fragment of joy. This certainly was not enlightenment, but even if you felt a fraction of a moment of joy and calmness, that is a taste, a glimpse of the infinite joy within. So that was 8 limbs in practice. Now let's get back to what Kriya Yoga is. We have about 15 more minutes and I'll answer Ting's question. So very simply, I'll try to define what Kriya Yoga is. There are 2 words, Kriya and Yoga. Yoga means union. All we are trying to do is trying to remind ourselves that we are an union of the body and the soul. Soul is that divinity, that power within us. If the soul was not there, we would be a dead body. If the body was not there and it was just a soul, we would call it a spirit or a ghost. The fact that the body and soul are together makes us the best creation of God, a human being. So in any type of yoga, ultimately, this is what we are trying to accomplish. We are trying to feel the union of the divinity and our body. And Kriya has 2 parts, Kri and Ya. Kri means any action that we do, anything that you can do in life. Now you're listening, I'm talking, you might be working later, whatever, any action. And Ya is if you can remember that all of that is possible because there is a life force within you, that there's the power of the soul within you, that there is a breath within you. So that is all Kriya means. So in summary, Kriya Yoga means that you try to perceive that all action, any action, is done by the power of the soul within us. So that is the union of the body and the soul. And that is the perception that something within us, a divine power, is accomplishing anything that we are doing. Kriya Yoga is non-sectarian. It is not a religion. It predates all religion. 2,500 years ago, there was no Christianity, no Hinduism as it is today. It was just the religion of the breath. It was just a lifestyle. So that's why Kriya Yoga is non-sectarian, and there are no restrictions on how to practice yoga, Kriya Yoga. We don't ask you to follow a specific diet or a particular lifestyle. In fact, in this path, there is no restriction at all. We let you learn Kriya Yoga. You perceive that experience yourself. Then if there are some changes to be made in life, you do it yourself. Nothing is prescribed as a means of learning, as a part of learning Kriya Yoga. And you perceive the soul within yourself, you realize that it's the same soul with others as well. That brings more transformation in life. So in a nutshell, Kriya Yoga is about interiorizing your attention, controlling the mind and its impulses, and then perceiving that witness self within, that pure consciousness within, which is taking us towards our real self. So this is what Kriya Yoga is. Then I'll answer Ting's question in this next slide. And a basic fundamental about Kriya Yoga is, this is what our yogis found, that there are 7 energy centers in our body. These are known as chakras. And 5 of them below the level of the eyebrows, 5 of the lower centers are for us to do all the action that we do in our world, in our daily life. And the top 2 centers are for realizing the self within. So 5 centers keep us engrossed in the world. The top 2 centers draw us to divinity within. And these 5 bottom centers, our gurus essentially say that the bottom center is the energy that we need for sustaining ourselves, to do any kind of work, to earn money. The energy, the impetus that comes is from the bottom center. So the energy in the bottom center is weak we might have some financial difficulty in life. When the energy in the bottom center is robust, that difficulty is not there. Likewise, the other centers, the second center from the bottom is for family and relationship. This is for procreation, sense enjoyment, having relationship, the impetus, the energy that we need comes from that center. The third center behind the navel, these are all in the spine, by the way, are for health and digestion. This is the energy in the navel center that lets us digest our food, which then leads to good health. Once again, if the energy is good, our health is good. If the energy in this center is not good, then we may have some health problem. The energy center near the heart, you can imagine, this is for emotions, love, hate, compassion. We know that comes from the heart. There is an energy center there, which is fueling this energy. And then the fifth center behind the neck is for higher pursuits, is for religion, is for a higher purpose in life. So without going into details, just to summarize, the path of yoga says that any activity that you do in the world is in these 5 categories, either financial activities, family and relationships, health related, emotions related, or higher pursuit. And those energy come from these centers. Now to answer Ting's question, she asked that, okay, desire fuels all our actions. I said that desire is something which will cloud the mind and prevent us from realizing our true self. The path of Kriya Yoga says that, I said that you don't need to make any change in your life. There's only one change in outlook that is necessary. If we can shift our mental orientation from the fact that I feel I am doing these activities to an orientation which says it is the power of divinity within me which is allowing me to do these activities, then that desire becomes nobilized, becomes spiritual, and then it does not come in the way. So I don't know, Ting, if this made sense. You see, if I think that I am working, then ego comes in. Then competition comes in. Oh, I am working. Am I working better than this other person or not? I'm not feeling fulfilled. All of those emotions come in. Whereas if I change my outlook to say, this divine drama of life is playing a role through me. I'm a particular situation in my life, with my work, with my family, with my friends. That is my purpose. There is a higher purpose working through me. Let me perceive that in all that I am doing. Let me try to do the best, but it is not I, the ego, the body, the flesh and blood that is doing it. It is this combination of the soul and the body. Let me not forget the soul. And then life actually changes. Then that is the spiritual aspect of dealing with life. I'll stop there, Ting, to ask you if that made any sense to you or not.
I think I have to chew on
Yes.
your words to
Absolutely. Absolutely. You absolutely should. The point, and of course, this is just one session, but that is the essence of Kriya Yoga. We say that, look, when you take Kriya Yoga, nothing in life changes, yet everything changes because your outlook changes. From being this self-centered body, mind, personality, I now perceive that there is a divine power which is working through me. Let me just watch the breath, be aware of this, and see how this power is playing out through me. That changes a whole lot of things. So that, in essence, is what Kriya Yoga is. Now, so Kriya Yoga, what it does is it tries to purify these chakras. I talked to you about how if the energy is weak, we have trouble in our life. And the energy is weak because, we have been practicing some habits, some way of life throughout our life. And if you believe in reincarnation, maybe multiple life. These impressions are latent within us. Often we surprise ourselves. We feel that I am a you know, a happy guy, and then suddenly something happens and I become so angry. And we wonder, where did this anger come from? The anger was latent within us. The situation so evolved that it sprouted the anger which was latent within us. So Kriya Yoga tries to work on these latent impressions which are in each of these centers. And as we brush them up, as we lighten them up, those obstacles slowly start going away from us. Mind becomes quieter, mind becomes spiritualized. So we raise our mind and consciousness to the upper centers, which is where we can perceive the divinity within us more. So that's Kriya Yoga. But Kriya Yoga, the interesting thing about is that we have to learn it formally. What I just talked is a little bit of theory. There's actually a process of initiation. And this path, these techniques for initiation are passed on to us by a long lineage of masters. This lineage of, they say that Kriya Yoga started with God 2,500 years ago, when world started. In the middle, it got lost and it was kept alive in the caves of the Himalayas by ascetics. Till in 1861, the saint on the left of the screen reintroduced Kriya Yoga to the modern world by asking the gentleman to his left, the second picture, to pass on Kriya Yoga to whoever was willing to learn. And since that time, there has been an unbroken lineage of masters. That means when a master has lived his life and is now realizes that he is not going to be anymore because the body will die, he or she passes on the mantle of being a teacher to another faithful devotee. Then he passes it on to another, and so on. So till now, and now to the right of the picture is Paramahamsa Pragyananandaji, who is the current lineage, the current guru of the lineage. So this is an unbroken lineage since 1861. It includes both people who are monastics and people who have been householders like us. This organization, founded by the last two gurus, is known as Kriya Yoga Institute. It has 5 ashrams in USA and 1 in Brazil. There are close to 100 centers, like Mukta is from a center in California. The other few are from the center in Seattle. In these centers, we do weekly guided meditation and so on. And we have a large Kriya One community in all these areas. In Monroe, we have the latest ashram of this temple for this organization. The picture on the left is a picture of the property, beautiful place. And on the right is the meditation hall. You can see this was when the teacher was visiting the person who's on the right of the lineage. He was visiting and people are meditating. So that's about our little group over here. As I said, Kriya Yoga has to be learned through initiation. In Monroe, we do initiations every month. The next one is coming up on 25th and 26th this weekend. And it's a 2-day weekend program where the initiation itself is a process of concentration and cleansing the chakras through your own attention, prayers, blessings of gurus. Then actually in the afternoon, the technique of Kriya Yoga is taught. It is quite involved. It takes a couple of hours to teach that technique. We do guided meditation together, which is essentially the Kriya meditation, which is a much deeper version of the meditation we just did. Then on Sunday, we again have guided meditation a couple more times, actually 2 or 3 times. Then we talk about the techniques again, the benefits of the technique, and so on and so forth. And to learn Kriya Yoga, anyone is welcome. You have to bring in 5 fruits, 5 flowers, and there's a $180 initiation fee for the process. So I will, and the other beautiful part is during the Kriya Yoga initiation, you will actually perceive the divinity within you at a much deeper level. It'll manifest as some sound, a sound within. It's not an external sound, some pulsation in the whole body, and a light that you can see with your eyes closed. It's a beautiful part of Kriya Yoga initiation event. So I'll stop here. We are actually almost out of time, or maybe just out of time. If any of the two new ones, I know for us, you're waiting to come back to Calgary before you get initiated. If others, friends and family, if they're curious and want to find out more, you can contact me or go to our website and here's some information that I'll share with you. I'll stop here and see if you have any last few questions, anything that is on your mind.
I would like to thank you for your presentation. It was very, very useful for me. It was my first time, and I learned a lot. Even in this first meditation, I felt like a little bit of a nap I had taken, a little bit of calmness.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It was very good presentation.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Ting, for joining, and all of the other Kriya ones who took the time to join in today.
I have the same appreciation for your great teaching. It's very informative, and also you make things easy to comprehend.
Okay, I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you very much. My appreciation to everybody as well. We'll close our eyes for our ending prayer. Praying to the divinity within us, around us, from the core of my heart. May everybody have good health. May everybody have auspiciousness in their life. May everybody experience happiness and joy in their daily work. May the masters, may the divinity bless us all. Thank you all. God bless you all. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was truly very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank
If we have any questions, your email is the one that's listed here?
Yes, you can certainly send me email.
Amit C. Okay, because I have questions.
AmitC0823@hotmail.com. AmitC0823@hotmail.com.
Yeah, I just found it very personally meaningful how you connected the things that were like loose ends, and they just kind of came together. So I'm
Wonderful.
very
I look forward to hearing from you.
great.
And we will have these meetup sessions every month. The next one will be on July 21st. I will announce that. As I said, there is an initiation this weekend. We will hope some people will show up, but we'll keep this going. All right. Have a blessed evening, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.